Welcome to another commercial real estate tactical broker training happening every single Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, where we believe, most commercial real estate brokers and realtors, they might struggle with getting in their role plays, getting in their negotiations, and going to a place where they can see live training. And so this is what we're going to do. And with Brent Silverbauer, he is an expert in all things real estate in Northern California. And we're here to dive right in. Brent, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So you went over last week, right? I think you headed up the training, or we did together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that one.
I headed up. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn? What did you use over the week? And then let's talk about what we're going to talk about here today.
Yeah. Last week was all about interest generators. The cold call to an interest generator. So you got to have that interest generator that allows you to set up a time to meet. And so it could be anything. It could be, but basically it's like a hyper local thing that is directly affecting their property, generally speaking, or an exit strategy like we do the Deferred Sales Trust. That is a great interest generator. Hey, I'm helping out another client down the road. They're selling 3, properties, and we are using Deferred Sales Trust. We're not doing 1031 exchange, avoiding all capital gains, and going into liquid assets. That, and I would like to talk to you more about that. Do you have time tomorrow? Whatever. So that's just a great interest generator, but there's all kinds of different interest generators. That's what we talked about.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And the purpose of a cold call and the interest generator is to A, pique curiosity, B, open up a window for opportunity to close for a meeting. And then once you're on the meeting, you're actually going to be diving into their goals, their challenges. You're not to have the meeting on the phone. You want to get in person so you can start to get the business relationship really moving forward. And by the way, I want to teach you guys something today that I'm just learning for the first time. It's called future pacing, right? And as we're in this first meeting and we're going over their goals, challenges, where they're trying to go, we're going to be asking not only, initial question about why they're passionate about real estate or what it's meant to them to own the real estate, or, what are some of their goals? And as they are explaining that, we're going to use the sounds like, feels like, and seems like, right? As ways to label emotions and bring out even more. Also mirror the last few words that somebody said. But on top of that, we're also going to take the next level of once I say, Brent, hey, that sounds like you want to get rid of the toilets, trash, and liability and pay off your debt and have some, not only some financial freedom, but some time freedom. You would say,
that's right.
That's right. And now I might even say at this point, what would that look like 1 year from now if you're able to achieve that?
Oh, yeah. The vision of my preferred future.
Yeah, future pacing, right? What would it sound like? What would it feel like, right? What would it mean for you and your family as it pertains to exiting, right? So these are questions that help you to future pace, and really more so than that, actually to gauge motivation. Because guess what? If someone's not really clear on where they're going or what they want, what are the odds that they're going to take action?
0.
Exactly, right? And so not only do you want the interest generator to get the meeting, to find out what some challenges are, but you also want to see if they even have clear expectations for where they're going, because sometimes they may not have those, right? And that might be part of the meeting. So future pacing is a way to help them clarify where they're going. So in fact, I'm going to pull up some information here I was just reading about that will give us some more. And this also has to do with determining whether or not it's worth it to actually do a pricing and financial analysis. Okay. So you might ask something like this: for what purpose, right? So someone might say, yes, that does actually sound good, that I could exit my properties, be tax deferred, and be done with the toilets, trash, and liability. There's an idea of what's called chunking up, where you're trying to really figure out internal motivation. So something you might say here, Brent, is something like, well, what do you want? Well, I just really want to be free from the stress from having to get these calls from my maintenance, from my management, from the tenants, from the city, and you say, for what purpose? There's a question you ask. Well, for what purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Or another way you might put it, if what purpose would that serve if you were free from all these things? In other words, you're trying to get to some internal motivations of what's going on. Is that making some sense there?
It totally makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
And they might say something like, well, to be able to have some peace and quiet. And you might say,
peace and quiet.
Quiet, right? And they might say, yeah, to not have to think about that phone ringing, and bothering me, or that text message, right? And then you might say, for what purpose? And they might say, well, to relax. And of course, you can mirror relax, but you could also just keep digging and say, well, what purpose would it solve to be able to relax more? They might say, well, honestly, to kind of feel sane. I went through COVID for a couple of years, and it was pretty intense. Things were pretty smooth for a while until rent control came in, until eviction control came in, until 1, 2, and 3 happened.
Yeah.
So you might do a label. What label would you do on that, Brent?
It sounds like you really want that freedom in your life.
Yeah, freedom, but the freedom that wouldn't just be financial freedom, because I've achieved that. I have multiple $1 million of property, but it's a different type of freedom, Brent. So it's more like stress freedom.
Yeah, it sounds like, for a lot of your life, you've been really focused and energized and dealing with the stress and anxiety of really running a real estate business. And you're ready to slow down and relax a little bit.
That's exactly right. So now that you've chunked up and you've gotten some like the internal purposes, right? And by the way, you should be writing these things down. Relax a little bit more. I drove my entire life. I'm looking for different types of freedom. You're taking these notes as you're asking these things. Now you want to really kind of what's called chunking down, which is like specifically, what specifically can you do right now to unlock some of the freedoms you're looking for? Or what is the one thing you can do that will give you the full freedom of what you're looking for? Not just the financial freedom, but the time and energy freedom.
Yeah, Brett, I just want to say, this is an amazing thing. Dude, freedom always speaks to so many people, and they're locked into these real estate businesses or whatever because of taxes. And you're offering them freedom, bro. People don't understand how valuable freedom is. It's what every human being desires, is freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And all these folks that had passive income and a ton of real estate, they're realizing that it's not exactly free.
Yeah, 100%. And I couldn't agree more. And you said it very well. And I think it's, my dad, for example, we grew up in the Bay Area building houses and having rentals our entire lives. And he says, this is California, 80s and 90s. He goes, Brett, it was they wanted you to do business. They were on your side. They wanted you to build housing. The inspector wanted to pass the inspection. They were moving things forward quickly and reasonably with common sense. And now it's the opposite. It's like, it almost feels like a lot of the parts of California, especially, or other big states like New York, New Jersey, it's like the government's actively fighting against you to run your business in a common sense way, to run your business in a profitable way. And it becomes, as a lot of our clients are becoming, our baby boomers, are already baby boomers, they're already getting older. They want time, energy, and financial peace. And peace doesn't mean just, debt free and income. It means, the ability to live their lives with the freedoms that they really desire, which is time and energy, location freedom. So you might even say something like this, Brent. What is an example of in the past that you've had, true financial peace, right? With the type of financial, freedom that you're looking for?
Never.
Okay. And so they may not have that. You're right. They may not have that. Or they could even say, well, maybe before I owned real estate, or before I was in the multifamily business and I was constantly dealing with all of the changes, right?
They may say, when I was in college, couch surfing was the last time I had time freedom, when my parents were paying for everything. And I loved that season of my life. And I dealt the last 30 years trying to get back to just going surfing when I wanted to.
Yeah, right. And then you might say, hey, what kind of freedom would that provide if you could go surfing whenever you wanted to, or travel, whatever the things you're looking to do? Hopefully not give up entirely on all your responsibilities. And I'm sure no one's saying that. But what would that mean for you if you could honestly go back to your hobbies and spend time and energy doing the things you want to do? What kind? How would you feel, and what would that mean to you?
Yeah.
So I'm chunking back up again. Okay, I'm looking for a bigger purpose, and you might just say the same thing over again. Well, give me what I really want. Okay, got it. So how specifically can we get there right now? What's the one thing that's holding you back from moving? Okay, now you're going to chunk back down to the specifics.
Question.
Yeah.
Is this all on the first cold call?
No. This is on the first meeting, right? So
future pacing is on the first meeting.
Correct.
Interest generator is on the cold call.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right. So it's basically taking mirroring and labeling to another level, right? We're going to mirror and label to start the call, but as we start to get into some stuff that seems like it's maybe not as tangible as you want it to be, well, I want to get the highest price and the best terms, Brent. For what purpose?
Yeah.
Well, so that I could have enough to live off of, or to move into my next deal. For what purpose? What would meaning? And you might not just say it like that. You might add, well, what would it mean if you could have the highest price and the best terms to move as much money into your next deal on a 1031 exchange? For what purpose would that solve or help you with? And essentially, what we're trying to do is trying to get them to dig into a little bit more emotion, is what I'm saying, right? Versus just the logic. Okay. Mm-hmm. And helping them to see an internal part of what they're trying to do. Because until we get to that point, it's going to be difficult for us to really help them, honestly, right? Honestly help them in a way that's transformational versus just transactional, right? So we're going to chunk up for what purpose to figure out what that's out. And then we're going to specifically say, like, well, what's the one thing if we were to be able to do it today and get done for you that would make everything else irrelevant, right? Or just, increase your freedom by twofold. What might they say? Well, maybe selling all my properties and I don't have to take in another phone call ever again.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I could see you're dealing with the issues of the heart, the vision of their life, the dreams of their life, of their heart, of that inner place, that's the motivation. That's like starting with why.
Yep. And instead of saying why, by the way, why can be defensive. I'm learning and coaching, right? So we want to say something like this. What will having that financial freedom do for you? What will having that time and energy, stress freedom give you? Well, what will that give your family? And then you might say, what specifically would you be doing with that time and your energy? Who specifically would you spend your time and energy with, right? Where would you be? So essentially you're gauging and seeing if they actually have emotion behind their motivation, right? And there's something that's going to be moving them through what can be a very challenging 5, 10, 50, $100 million sale. And guess what? You're asking the questions in a way that shows A, that you truly care, and B, they know that you're on their side. So once I've established some key purpose questions, and specifically how we can dial down to make it taking some action, we also want to spend times on things that are valuable to them, right? And you want to discover a value, like what's important to you about a listing agent, a multifamily expert, a real estate agent to help represent you. They're going to say, well, I want someone who's on my side, who's looking out for me, who's creative and who's also innovative with their marketing, but creative with their solutions, who's not going to give a single penny away or dollar away to somebody else, but is going to represent me fully and ethically and like all in with me, who understands where my goals and my challenges are. right? And then they might say, so it sounds like, it seems like, it feels like, and hopefully you're taking the notes on all of these things. Okay. You should be. And that should be the place you refer back to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing, right? But even more, you don't want to stop there. You might also say, what else is important to you about having an agent who's looking out for you, who's on your side, who has creative solutions, who understands your vision for your wealth plan and where you're trying to go. So in other words, you want to discover a value. And when you and then you want to tie that, right, to your values and what you provide as well, right? Not only that, you also want to ask, well, of those sets of values, those top 5 values, it could be transparency, it could be accountability, it could be creative solutions, it could be performance, it could be, communication. Of all those values, which one is most important to you?
Yeah.
Of all the remaining values on the list, now that you said which one's most important, which one's the most important to you after that? If you could only have one of the remaining values, which would it be? And essentially, you're helping them to clarify even more what their values are and what they're looking for. And here's why: because you want to make sure that that's what you're going to be focusing on, right? And or just showing that this is exactly what my value is. And someone might say, you know what, Brent, I don't ever want to feel trapped by a 1031 exchange ever again. Or I want to double my cash flow and decrease my debt. Or I want to be done with the toilet trash and liability, and I don't want to exchange to another property, right? Or I want to sell this house. I want to diversify my luxury house into diversified portfolio of liquid investments. Okay, of all of those values, would you rank them for me? What would you say is your number one, right? What's your next one, right? What's the most important to you?
Getting the highest price, having the best marketing and email list.
Excellent. And of those 4 values, Brent, which one would you say is the most important that you would want to make sure that a listing agent would have, those things in mind for you?
Marketing my property and explaining the true value.
So it sounds like marketing your property and explaining or knowing the story behind the true value.
That's right.
And what specifically does marketing the property look like to you? What's your understanding of that?
Telling the story. Every property has a story. Every property has an upside. These multifamily assets are complicated. And, sometimes I see these guys, they just put the financials up and the rent roll up, but it doesn't explain the whole story. It doesn't explain the upside. It doesn't explain that there's this business going in and this company hiring and all these other things. And I just really want someone to show the value or the ability to do Airbnb on half of this property. And I think if people see the value, they'll pay for it. But if they don't see the value, then they won't pay for it.
It sounds like you value stewardship with the property and the story behind it so that people aren't leaving meat on the bone and they're truly expressing and sharing the story so that a buyer will pay the highest price in the best terms.
Correct.
Now, what specifically have you seen when it comes to not only capturing that story, understanding it, but how a digital marketing expert can separate and not only share that story, but share it on a scale that's going to maximize the amount of leads that come in?
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone quite do it the way I think it could be done. I feel like a lot of it, commercial real estate, is old school and it falls short.
Fall short?
Yeah, it's just these, old salty cowboys out here, just kind of in a good old boys club, just, doing whatever. And I just feel like, these guys are getting paid a ton of money, and I'd like to see a little more effort and a little more energy put into the listing.
So it sounds like you like to see more energy, more effort, more transparency, and more marketing in a way that captures the essence of what your property is, doesn't leave any meat on the bone, but essentially gets you highest price in the best terms for all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into the property over the years.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that all my energy and effort, this is my big exit, and that I'm partnering someone who has the same hard work ethic that I have, so that I could work all these years on this property and do everything right. But if we trip up on the exit, then, all that's for nothing.
Excellent. So here's the key, right? as we're talking and asking these questions, what we found with myself, with my clients, and with anyone else that you're probably working with, if you think back about it, when your values align, business happens naturally. But if we're not talking about values, ranking values, sharing vision, asking questions to pull out vision and values, how is it going to happen naturally? It's not. It's going to feel transactional versus relational and transformational, right? And that's the key here. So now I'm going to transition. What would I do to transition, Brent, to the next part of the conversation? Now that I've established some values, I've mirrored and labeled, I pulled out some internal motivations, I specifically narrowed it down. What would be the natural transition to see if a proposal is warranted?
You go into the conditional close.
We'll pause. Before that, though, there's one other one. For a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, right? On a scale from 1 to 10, how serious? On a scale from 1 to 10, if we could satisfy your needs with digital marketing, show you how we could free up time, give you what your heart desires that we discussed previously. If we could do all that on a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to exit the property?
Yeah. How serious are you about taking action today?
Yeah. 10 being extremely serious, 1 being not serious at all. Yeah. Where do you fall on that scale?
Yep. Pierce, you want to practice that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Go.
This has been great, by the way. So I guess I'll just. Do you want me to just say the line? Like
on a scale of 1 to 10, and just mirror back what Brent just said.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to taking action today?
Okay.
1 being the least, 10 being the highest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, given what we just talked about, with your values of getting some freedom beyond just financial freedom, your values of having someone that could sell your property in a way that maximizes the value, that is taking a serious, a focus that you focus for so many years to build your wealth, to get you the highest price and the best terms so that you can spend more time with your family, surfing, doing the things you really love to do, more time in your hobbies. How serious are you about selling today on a scale of 1 to 10? Brent, you might say what?
Gosh, if you could do all that, 9.
9.
If you can do all that, if you could show me how I could avoid these taxes, increase my cash flow, and especially allow me to reach my goal of surfing with my kids every day in Huntington Beach or wherever Pierce is over there. That looks kind of nice. Then I would. Where's that Newport Beach? Hey, Pierce. Yeah, if you could get me where Pierce is every day, then I'm a 9.5 actually.
Good. So now it's going to go to transition. That's actually basically I would say 7, 8, 9. No, really, it's how they're saying it, right? Because somebody's 7 might be someone else's 9, but I mean, if they're saying it with some emotion and some conviction. By the way, if you want to learn more about any of this, you go to expmastery.com. We're constantly growing and building our team with the best experts across the country in commercial real estate, especially multifamily and luxury realtors. We want to encourage you to take a peek at the model with eXp, and we want to encourage you to take a peek at our team to see if it could be a good fit. expmastery.com. But essentially, what you want to do is you want to gauge their emotion and their intent, right, of actually taking action on about how serious they are, right? So now that we know that they're serious, they actually do want to seem like they do intend to take action. Brent, what would be the question to ask to now find out, to find out if you can be in a business relationship moving forward?
Okay, so yeah, it seems like you're pretty motivated. You said 7 to 9.5. So if I can get a proposal together, and if I could show you how we can give you more time freedom, show you how we can increase your cash flow, show you how we can exit the property at a high level, if we could do all that and we could agree on price and terms to your satisfaction, would you allow me to exclusively list and sell the property?
Excellent job, Brent. Yeah. assuming we agree on price and terms, and to your satisfaction, it can show you how we're going to solve for A, B, and C, and not do D, E, and F, right? To help you achieve your exact goals that you want. Is there any reason why you wouldn't allow me to show you that on proposal, come back to you with a listing agreement that you would sign and list the property with me in 2 weeks, however you want to put it, right?
Mhm.
Something along those lines. You basically just asking for a commitment. If I would you, right? If I would you be willing to take action, right? And we're also looking for objections, challenges, things that might come out to stop that performance, right? The ability for them to perform, or it could be a partner, it could be a loan, it could be a number of different things, right? We want to bring out the potential objections so that we're prepared for them. Does that make sense, Brent?
Yes.
Pierce, any questions on that?
No, but I do have some questions on the cold call. If we can go back to that for a second.
Go.
Sometimes when I'm cold calling, I get like a lot of people who like don't speak English really well. Do you just move on?
How do you mean when you say they don't?
They just like, I don't know. They either are like using the fact that there's like a little bit of a language barrier as a reason to not talk, or they basically just like they don't speak English very well. It's very hard to have a conversation with them. Do you pursue that at all, or do you just hang up and move on?
Well, what do you think you should do?
I don't know. It's frustrating when you can't hear them, but like, again, it's over the phone. Sometimes they're choppy.
Well, what can you do?
Find somebody who speaks Chinese.
What else? What else could you do? Text or email, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Chat GPT it.
You might not be translating there, but do you think perhaps if they can't speak it to them, perhaps they can read it and write? Maybe better?
It's possible, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would just focus on what you can do, which could be follow up with a text message to a video, follow up with a text message with an article, follow up with a text message to something, and build that relationship. Yeah, I have clients that let's say English is not their first language, and at times we work with this a child or a son or a daughter, or a friend, right, who could help in that. So I would say don't give up, right? Don't give up is definitely right, but find a way to keep connecting the relationship. Brent, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that is exactly what you do. Focus on what you can do. And email, text, there's translators, there's all kinds of kind of cool stuff. But I have had that situation before, and it is difficult. And I have found that email is probably the best way to do it. It takes longer to communicate, but if it's a big deal and they're, open to working with you, then it's worth it. Now, if it's a small deal and it takes a ton of your time, then you got to you got to feel it on your own gut when to cut the cord.
Yeah. I guess that's why I started with when it's a cold call, right? Because it's like, they don't know you. I guess it depends on the size of the deal at that point. If it's a fourplex worth $1 million, probably not. But
yeah, maybe. But also, what if they own a $50 million deal down the street that you don't know about yet because it's in an LLC with a name that's not necessarily connected? So to me, you want to get the meeting, right? And you want to move the relationship forward. You want to put them on a drip campaign, a text message drip campaign, send them video updates. Part of your database is nurturing that. And guess what? If you show enough value and you're persistent enough, you can push through the language barriers. And it probably would mean, hey, I've had calls. My mom and dad talked to you 6 months ago. You probably didn't understand fully what they're saying, but they told me to call you, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're the person who stuck with it, even though you had the language barrier. So I just focus on what you can do, Pierce. We're up at top of the hour, so I want to thank everybody. It's been 30 minutes here. We're going to encourage you to take action if you're a commercial broker, real estate agent, and you want to learn more. You can go to expmastery.com. We have some of the top luxury, residential, and commercial brokers. And we want to encourage you to take a look at our team. Brent Silverbauer, thank you. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
BrentSalesChico.com.
Pierce York, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
KingdomLuxuryRealty.com.
Excellent. And everyone, thank you so much. If you want to go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, you can also check out how to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange to grow your business. And if you want to look at more commercial real estate training and ways to partner with us, go to expmastery.com. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.